The moment she smirked at me and said, "Nice dress," dragging out the words like they tasted sour, I knew something bad was coming. But I still wasn't ready for what followed. She tilted her head, eyes flicking deliberately to the cheap plastic name tag clipped to my chest, and added loudly, "Forgot to upgrade your name tag too?" The table erupted in laughter, the kind that hits you in the ears before it hits your heart, and I stood there frozen, cheeks burning, wondering if I was about to cry in front of everyone or finally snap. So tell me, honestly, if you were in my place, humiliated in a room full of people who already thought they were better than you, what would you have done to understand why that moment cut so deep? I need to rewind a bit and explain how. I even ended up standing there in that dress with that name tag. I've always been the quiet one, the background character, the person who does the work without making noise about it. I grew up in a family where money was tight and appearances mattered more to everyone else than they did to us. You learned early that if your clothes were clean and your shoes didn't have holes, you were doing fine. I carried that mindset into adulthood, into my career, and straight into the company where all of this happened. When I got hired, it felt like a miracle. The job paid decently, the title sounded impressive enough when I told relatives, and I convinced myself that if I worked hard and kept my head down, I'd eventually belong there. The truth was, from day one, I didn't quite fit in. My coworkers came from better schools, better neighborhoods, better everything. They talked about vacations abroad, designer brands, and connections I didn't have. I talked about saving up for a used car and helping my parents with bills. I wasn't ashamed of where I came from, but I learned quickly not to advertise it. I smiled, nodded, laughed at the right moments, and focused on my work. And my work, by the way, was solid. I hit my targets, met deadlines, fixed problems other people avoided. Managers noticed, but peers mostly didn't, and that was fine with me. Or at least I told myself it was. Then there was her. Let's call her Amanda. Amanda was everything I wasn't. Loud, confident, polished, and very aware of it. She had a way of filling a room just by walking into it. Heels clicking, hair perfect. Always dressed like she'd stepped out of a magazine. She was also the kind of person who smiled while putting you down. So if you ever called her out, you'd look like the problem. From the beginning, she made little comments. "Oh, you're so brave wearing flats to a client meeting. I could never pull off something that simple." They were small enough that I could pretend I was imagining them, but frequent enough that I started dreading any interaction with her. The company culture didn't help. On the surface, it was all about teamwork and inclusion, but underneath, there was this unspoken hierarchy based on money, background, and image. The higher up you went, the more you were expected to look the part. Designer suits, tailored dresses, expensive accessories. It wasn't in any handbook, but everyone knew. So when the annual corporate gala was announced, I felt that familiar knot in my stomach. This was the event, the one everyone talked about, the one where executives mingled. Promotions were whispered about, and reputations were quietly shaped. I stared at the email invitation for a long time. Formal attire required. Name tags provided at check-in. Black tie optional. I didn't own anything close to black tie, but I also couldn't afford to buy something new without skipping meals or rent. After a lot of internal debate, I went thrifting. I spent hours going through racks until I found it. A simple, elegant dress that fit me perfectly. It wasn't designer, but it was classic. I paid less than what Amanda probably spent on a single accessory, and I went home feeling proud. I ironed it carefully, laid it out the night before, and even practiced my posture in the mirror, telling myself that confidence could be worn just like clothes. The night of the gala, I arrived early, mostly because I was nervous and didn't want to walk in alone. The venue was stunning. All chandeliers and soft music and people who looked like they belonged there. At check-in, they handed me my name tag, and that's when I noticed something odd. Everyone else's name tags looked different. Thicker, metallic, engraved with names and titles. Mine was plain white plastic with my name printed in basic black letters. I almost said something, but the attendant was already moving on, and a line was forming behind me. I told myself it didn't matter. A name tag is a name tag, right? I tried to enjoy the evening. I grabbed a drink, made small talk, smiled until my face hurt. For a while it worked. I even had a pleasant conversation with a senior manager who complimented my work ethic. Then Amanda showed up. She swept in with her group, laughter ringing out before I even saw her. Her eyes landed on me, flicked over my dress, and I felt that familiar prickle of unease. She walked over, drink in hand, smile wide. "Oh, wow," she said, looking me up and down. "Nice dress." The way she said it made it clear she didn't mean it as a compliment. Before I could respond, she leaned closer, squinting at my chest. "Forgot to upgrade your name tag too?" she asked, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. That's when the laughter started. Not everyone, but enough. People I worked with every day. People who knew how hard I worked. People who suddenly found my humiliation entertaining. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. I felt small, exposed. Like every insecurity I'd ever had was on display under those chandeliers. In that moment, 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. I could laugh it off, make a joke at my own expense, let it pass like I always did. I could walk away, hide in the bathroom, maybe even leave early. Or I could finally say something. My heart was pounding so hard I thought people could see it. I forced a smile and said nothing. And Amanda, satisfied, drifted back to her group. But something inside me shifted. The humiliation didn't fade. It hardened into resolve. I spent the next part of the evening in a strange calm. I replayed every comment, every look. Every time I'd made myself smaller so others could feel bigger. I realized something that night. The name tag wasn't the real issue. It was a symbol. A reminder that no matter how hard I worked, some people would always see me as less than, and I was tired of accepting that. So that's the situation I was in, standing there with my cheap name tag and my pride in pieces. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause for a second and really think about it. If you were me, would you keep swallowing the humiliation to keep the peace? Or would you finally push back, even if it meant making enemies? Drop a comment with what you would have done, because what I chose changed everything. After the gala, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake replaying the laughter, the looks, the way Amanda's words echoed in my head. By morning, the embarrassment had turned into clarity. I started paying closer attention at work, not just to how people treated me, but to how things actually ran behind the scenes. And that's when I noticed something interesting. Despite all the polished appearances, a lot of the people who looked the part weren't pulling their weight. Deadlines were missed, mistakes were covered up, credit was stolen, and a lot of that credit was taken from people like me. I didn't decide to get revenge in a dramatic movie-style way. It was quieter than that. Smarter. I started documenting everything. Emails, project timelines, contributions. I spoke up more in meetings. Not loudly, but clearly, confidently. When someone tried to gloss over my work, I gently corrected them with facts. Volunteered for high-visibility projects that others avoided because they were hard. And I did them well. Very well. Amanda noticed. I could see it in the way her smile tightened when my name was mentioned positively. She tried to undermine me, subtly at first, then more openly. She'd interrupt me in meetings, question my ideas, make jokes at my expense. This time I didn't laugh along. I stayed calm, responded professionally, and let her behavior speak for itself. Other people started noticing too. The real turning point came a few months later, at another company event, much smaller and less glamorous. This time, when I checked in, I was handed a metallic name tag. My name, my title, engraved just like everyone else's. It shouldn't have mattered, but it did. Not because of the tag itself, but because of what it represented. Recognition. Respect. I caught Amanda staring at it, confusion flickering across her face. During the event, a senior executive took the stage and started talking about the success of a major project. A project I had led. He called my name, thanked me publicly, and asked me to join him at the front. As I walked up, I could feel eyes on me. And for the first time, it didn't make me want to shrink. It made me stand taller. I glanced at Amanda as I passed her table. She wasn't smiling. After that, things changed quickly. I was offered a promotion, a real one, with a title and a raise that actually made a difference. Amanda, on the other hand, was quietly moved to a different team after several complaints about her behavior came to light. No big confrontation, no dramatic showdown, just consequences. The kind that come when patterns are finally seen for what they are. I won't pretend it felt completely satisfying. Part of me wanted an apology, an acknowledgement of the hurt she'd caused. But another part of me realized I didn't need that. The best revenge wasn't embarrassing her the way she embarrassed me. It was refusing to let her define my worth. It was proving to myself more than anyone else that I belonged there just as much as anyone in a designer suit. Looking back now, that night at the gala feels like a turning point. The laughter, the mocking comment, the cheap name tag, all of it forced me to confront a truth I'd been avoiding. I had been waiting for permission to take up space, and I didn't need it. So if there's one thing I've learned from this whole mess, it's that people will always find ways to put you down if it makes them feel better about themselves. You can't control that. What you can control is how you respond, how you see yourself, and whether you let their words become your reality. Standing up for yourself doesn't always look loud or aggressive. Sometimes it looks like consistency, confidence, and letting your work speak so clearly that it can't be ignored. If you were on my side in this story, go ahead and like this video. If you want to hear more real, messy, unbelievable stories like this one, make sure you subscribe. And I really want to know what you think. So share your final thoughts on this whole situation in the comments. Would you have handled it differently? I'll see you all in the next story.